She'd imagined rejection would feel like anger. It felt like drowning. Seraphine stood in the center of the pack circle, surrounded by wolves who wouldn't meet her eyes. The elders sat in judgment above her. And Calix, her fated mate, the bond she'd felt snap into place 3 months ago, stood before her with contempt carved into every line of his face. "You're too weak." His voice carried across the silence. "Too broken. I won't be tied to shame." The bond shattered. It wasn't metaphorical. It was physical. A tearing sensation in her chest, like something vital had been ripped out through her ribs. Her knees hit stone. The pain stole her breath, her vision, everything but the taste of humiliation flooding her mouth. No one moved to help her. She heard whispers, pitying, disgusted. Of course he rejected her. Look at her bloodline. Look at what she is. Sarah forced herself to stand. Her legs shook. She didn't look at Calix, didn't look at anyone. She just walked, one step, then another, until she reached the edge of the circle. Then she ran. The forest swallowed her. She collapsed against a tree, sobbing into her hands. He was right. I'm not enough. I'll never be enough. The air shifted. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My mother once said I'd never reach 1,000 subscribers. But I believe stories like this, the quiet ones, the forbidden ones, the ones that burn slowly in the dark, deserve to be heard. Subscribe to Midnight Alpha Stories and help turn whispered tales into something that can't be ignored. Now, let's continue. A scent hit her, ash, iron, and something ancient, something that made her wolf whimper and flatten. She looked up. Silver eyes gleamed in the darkness between the trees. A voice low and absolute cut through her grief. Stand. She didn't know his name when the bond snapped into place. She only knew the weight of his gaze, silver eyes burning with something that felt like recognition and hunger wrapped together. He stepped from the shadows. Taller than any wolf she'd ever seen. Darker, more controlled. And he circled her slowly, deliberate, inhaling her scent like he was memorizing something he'd been searching for his entire life. Then he stopped, close enough to touch, but he didn't. I will never touch you, Seraphine. Not unless you beg me to. Morel Ashvern had imagined this moment 1,000 times. She'd never imagined it would feel like dying. She stood in the center of the packed courtyard, surrounded by wolves who wouldn't meet her eyes. The council sat in judgment above her, and Theron, her fated mate, the bond she'd felt snap into place 4 months ago, stood before her with disgust carved into every line of his face. "You're too damaged," his voice carried across the silence. "Too scarred. I won't be shackled to weakness." The bond shattered. It wasn't metaphorical. It was physical. A ripping sensation in her chest, like something living had been torn out through bone. Her knees hit stone. The pain stole her breath, her sight, everything but the taste of humiliation flooding her throat. No one moved to help her. She heard whispers. Pitying. Cruel. Of course he rejected her. Look at her history, look at what she survived. Mira forced herself to stand. Her legs trembled. She didn't look at Theron, didn't look at anyone. She just walked, 1 foot then another, until she reached the iron gates. Then she ran. The forest swallowed her whole. She collapsed against ancient bark, gasping into her palms. He was right. I'm too broken. I'll always be broken. She should have known better than to want. The air changed. A scent invaded, smoke, frost, and something older. Something that made her wolf whine and submit. She looked up. Silver eyes burned in the darkness between the trees. A voice low and commanding cut through her anguish. Stand. He stepped from the shadows like something forged from violence itself. Taller than any wolf she'd ever seen. Broader. Colder. Power radiated off him in waves. Not chaotic. Not savage. But controlled. Restrained, like a blade pressed against skin, waiting to break through. Mira's instincts screamed at her to run. She didn't move. He circled her slowly, deliberate, his gaze dragging over her like a physical brand. She felt him inhale, scenting her, claiming her with nothing but air. And then it happened. The bond snapped into place. No. Her chest constricted, terror clawing up her throat. Not again. I can't survive another rejection. He stopped in front of her. Close. Too close. She could feel his heat, smell smoke and frost and something ancient, something that made her wool flatten before she could stop it. But he didn't touch her. I will never touch you, Mirelle. His voice was low, final. Not unless you beg me to. She stared at him, breathless. Why? He didn't answer, just turned, his cloak sweeping behind him like darkness given weight. You're coming with me. She should have refused, should have demanded explanations, but her legs moved anyway, following him through the trees, her thoughts spiraling. Why would a wolf king want her, but refuse to claim her? Alphas didn't hesitate, they conquered. Theron had proven that, but this one held himself back like restraint was power, not weakness. Was it cruelty, control, or something far more dangerous? When they reached his stronghold, wolves lined the entrance, and when she stepped into the war hall, they bowed. To her. Her breath caught. He'd claimed her publicly, but privately he wouldn't even touch her. What kind of monster does that? They gave her chambers in the northern tower, furs worth fortunes, a view of frozen peaks, guards who bowed when she passed. But no one spoke to her. Draven kept his distance. She'd see him across courtyards, in war councils, his gaze finding her like a magnet. But he never approached, never spoke, just watched. She started watching back. The pack feared him. That much was clear. But they also obeyed him without question. He ruled through absolute control, not violence. His word was law, but it was earned. Final, but not cruel. And she noticed something else. He touched no one. Not in greeting, not in strategy, not even his generals. He stood apart, always, like contact itself was poison. What destroyed him? Why does he live like this? One night she found him alone in the war room. Moonlight cut through the windows, casting him in silver and ice. Why did you bring me here if you won't even speak to me? He went still. Then, slowly, he turned. I speak to you, Mirelle. His voice was rough, low. Every moment I force myself to stay away. The air thickened. He stepped closer, one step, then another, until she could feel the heat of him, the tension humming between them. Then he stopped, forced himself back. This is the only mercy I have left. Distance. She didn't understand. But before she could ask, the doors slammed open. A rival alpha strode in, Kovar, arrogant and sharp. I'm here to take what you refused, Draven. She's wasted on a coward. Draven's eyes went empty. She is mine. His voice dropped to something deadly. And I will burn anyone who touches her. Mira felt it, the bond flaring, possessive and absolute. He wouldn't touch her, but he'd slaughter for her. Kovar cornered her in the corridor the next morning. He was everything Theron had been. Arrogant, cruel-edged, possessive in a way that had nothing to do with wanting her at all. You don't belong to Draven. He stepped closer, crowding her against the stone wall. He doesn't even want you. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist, hard, bruising. I'll show you what a real alpha does. Disgust hit her like a blade. This wasn't desire. It was dominance without respect, ownership without seeing her as anything but territory. This is what I thought strength looked like, but now it feels like violence. Let her go. Draven's voice cut through the hall, low, deadly, final. Kovar sneered, tightening his grip. Why? You don't touch her. She's worthless to you. Draven didn't move, but his presence expanded, filling the space until the air itself felt crushing, suffocating. I don't need to touch her to claim her. His eyes were empty, glacial. And you'll learn that when I tear your spine out. Kovar released her, stepped back. For the first time, Mira saw terror flicker across his face. Draven's gaze never wavered. Leave. Now. Or I'll make certain you never walk again. Kovar fled. The silence that followed was deafening. Mira stared at Draven, her wrist still aching where Kovar had grabbed her. She saw the difference now. Kovar's aggression, selfish and brutal. Draven's restraint, controlled and deliberate. Kovar wanted to conquer. Draven chose not to, and somehow that made all the difference. That night, she found him alone in his chambers. She had to understand. Why won't you touch me? He was silent for a long moment. Then, everyone I've ever touched has died. I won't let that happen to you. He told her everything, a death curse carved into him decades ago by a rival pack's blood witch. Any mate he claimed would die within the year. He'd watched it happen twice, strong women, fierce wolves reduced to nothing in his arms. I want you, Morel. His voice cracked, raw. Gods, I want you, but I won't murder you for it. She stood frozen, understanding. The distance, the restraint, the way he looked at her like she was something sacred and lethal all at once. So you'll never touch me? Her voice was barely audible. We'll exist like this forever? He met her eyes, and she saw the cost of his control carved into every line of his face. Unless you decide the risk is worth it. But I won't make that choice for you. Her breath caught. No male had ever given her that. Theron had rejected her. Kovar had tried to take her. But Draven was waiting. He's giving me power. But what do I do with it? She stepped closer. He tensed, every muscle locked. Mira, don't. She reached for his hand, hovering an inch away, close enough to feel his heat, but not his skin. What if I want to risk it? He closed his eyes, his jaw clenched. When he spoke, his voice was shattered. Then you'll destroy me. The air between them vibrated with everything unspoken. She could close the distance, end this suffering, feel him finally, completely. But she didn't. Not yet. She lowered her hand, stepped back, the bond pulled tighter, aching, alive. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. She was afraid of how desperately she wanted him. I need time. The words came out steadier than she expected. Draven stood across from her, his expression unreadable. I need to know who I am outside of rejection, outside of this bond, before I decide anything. She braced for resistance, for rage, for the control she'd learned to expect from alphas. Instead, he nodded. Take all the time you need. I'll still be here. And he was. She trained with the pack warriors, learning to move like a weapon given flesh. Her body ached. Her wolf emerged. She wasn't weak. She'd just never been shown her own power. She studied shadow magic with the royal sorcerer, her hands crackling with energy she didn't know she possessed. She started speaking at war councils. Her voice, once silenced, once worthless, carried weight now. She was becoming someone, not because of a mate, because of herself. Draven watched. He didn't interfere, didn't push, didn't invade her space. But she saw the way he looked at her, hunger and pride and longing woven together, restrained but fracturing. He's waiting, and somehow that makes me want him more. The less she needed him, the more she craved him. During the territory feast, a wolf, drunk, bold, grabbed her waist, pulling her close. Draven moved like death incarnate. One moment he was across the hall, the next his hand was around the wolf's throat, lifting him off the ground. The wolf's eyes bulged, his face turned crimson. Draven, stop! Mira's voice cut through the violence. He froze but didn't release him. She placed her hand on his arm, the first time she'd touched him since his chambers. Let him go. He obeyed. The wolf collapsed, choking. Draven's control was crumbling, and she was the reason. She found him late at night, alone in his chambers. She'd been thinking about him for weeks. Every glance, every restrained touch, Every moment he'd chosen distance when she knew he wanted the opposite. She didn't knock. He turned, eyes flashing silver in the dim light. You shouldn't be here. She stepped closer. What if I want to be? His breathing changed, uneven, controlled but fracturing, his hands curled into fists at his sides, trembling with the effort of holding himself back. Mira, if you stay, I don't know if I can stop myself. She met his eyes, unwavering. Then don't. He moved, closing the distance in one breath, stopping an inch from her in the next. His forehead pressed against hers, not touching but almost the heat of him surrounding her, suffocating and perfect. His voice was ragged. Ask me. If you want this, you have to ask me, she whispered. Draven. He pulled back, shaking. Not like this. Not until you're certain. Anger flared through her hot and raw. You want me. I want you. Why are you torturing us both? He looked at her, and she saw everything, hunger, fear, longing, restraint bleeding at the edges. Because if I touch you and lose you, I won't survive it. The rawness in his voice broke something in her chest. She wanted to scream, wanted to close the distance, wanted him to stop being so damn careful with her. But she also understood. This wasn't just desire. It was terror wrapped in control. She left his chambers breathless, confused, aching. She didn't know what she wanted anymore. Except him. She spent days processing, training, thinking, healing. And then she understood. She wasn't the broken girl who'd been rejected in the pack courtyard. She wasn't defined by Theron's cruelty or her past's shame. She was whole. She knew her worth. And she wanted Draven, not because she needed him to complete her, but because she chose him. I choose him. She found him in the war hall. The pack was assembled, council in session. She didn't care. She walked through the crowd, steady and sure. Every eye turned to her. She felt their shock, their confusion. She only saw him. You said you'd never touch me unless I begged. He went still, stared at her like she was a dream he was afraid to believe in. Mira. She took his hand. The bond flared, electric, overwhelming, alive. It surged through her, through him, binding them in a way that felt inevitable and chosen all at once. I'm begging. His control shattered. He pulled her to him, finally, his arms closing around her, solid and real and trembling with restraint, barely held. The pack gasped. Whispers erupted. He didn't care. His forehead pressed against hers, his breath ragged. You'll be the death of me, Morel. She smiled against his chest, feeling his heartbeat thunder beneath her palm. Or the saving of you. For one perfect moment, everything was right. Then the air turned cold. Dark magic flared around them, violent and ancient. The curse, dormant for so long, woke, and she felt it trying to consume her. The curse wrapped around her like chains of ice. Mira gasped, feeling it pull at her life force, cold, hungry, ancient. Dark energy coiled tighter, trying to drain her, consume her. Draven's face went white. No, I should never have touched you. I've killed you. But something inside her shifted. Her magic, dormant, untrained, barely understood, surged to the surface. Shadow bloomed beneath her skin, pushing back against the darkness. And she understood. The curse fed on unwilling mates, on fear, obligation, possession, on bonds forged from duty, not desire. But she had chosen him, and that choice changed everything. She placed her hand over his heart, her magic flooding through the bond. You didn't claim me, Draven. I claimed you. The curse shattered. The dark energy exploded outward, dissolving into nothing. The bond solidified between them, not ownership, not possession, but partnership, equal, whole, free. Draven collapsed and she caught him, holding him as he shook. You saved me, he whispered, his voice raw. She smiled, tears streaming down her face. No, we saved each other. The pack stared in stunned silence. She wasn't just his mate, she was his equal. She'd been rejected, broken, invisible. But she rebuilt herself. And when she finally let someone in, it wasn't because she needed saving. It was because she was ready to be seen. Draven took her hand, no longer forbidden, no longer dangerous, just theirs. "What now?" she asked. He smiled, fierce and free. "Now we rewrite the rules." The curse wrapped around her like chains of ice. Mira gasped, feeling it pull at her life force. Cold, hungry, ancient, dark energy coiled tighter, trying to drain her, consume her. Draven's face went white. "No, no. I should never have touched you. I've killed you." But something inside her shifted. Her magic, dormant, untrained, barely understood, surged to the surface. Shadow bloomed beneath her skin, pushing back against the darkness. And she understood. The curse fed on unwilling mates, on fear, obligation, possession, on bonds forged from duty, not desire. But she had chosen him, and that choice changed everything. She placed her hand over his heart, her magic flooding through the bond. "You didn't claim me, Draven. I claimed you." The curse shattered. The dark energy exploded outward, dissolving into nothing. The bond solidified between them, not ownership, not possession, but partnership. Equal, whole, free. Draven collapsed and she caught him, holding him as he shook. "You saved me," he whispered, his voice raw. She smiled, tears streaming down her face. "No, we saved each other." The pack stared in stunned silence. She wasn't just his mate. She was his equal. She'd been rejected, broken, invisible. But she rebuilt herself. And when she finally let someone in, it wasn't because she needed saving, it was because she was ready to be seen. Real desire isn't about someone completing you. It's about choosing someone when you're already whole. The most dangerous romance isn't forbidden attraction. It's confusing control with care, possession with protection. Draven had given her something no one else had. Not passion, not promises, but choice. And that made all the difference. If this story resonated with you, follow for more tales about desire, restraint, and the difference between being claimed and being chosen.